Right, so I'll start off. This is 4th of February 2018, FEPOW Family Video Meeting. I've got Jenni here. What's your second name, Jenni?
Alan.
Alan, yeah, well, I've got one from you, so I wasn't going to read that. No, that's you wrote to me to say, you know, you might be able to make it, which is great. I haven't had a lot. I've had Chris McIntyre, said yes, they are going to join the meetings, so that's a good one. Not for now, but they will be joining the meetings. So that's all the apologies I had, because I had quite a few said they were going to come on today, so hopefully some will join us later. Facebook, we're up to 281 now.
Oh, wow.
281 members, so that's gone quite well.
Very good.
Because we've only been going for just over the year, so that's quite good. One of the things last week was it was mentioned the Singapore's Dunkirk. Keith, you've got that as well, I take it. Yeah, I didn't have it, so I did get it. I haven't started reading it yet, but
that's it.
Yeah. I did buy the new copy, but there are plenty of second-hand copies on board on iBooks or the eBay. But it looks quite good, Keith.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that?
Oh, I read it some time ago, Ronnie. So
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
like I'm just going through a shed load of books at the moment. So
yeah, but that looks quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting.
For those who don't know what it's about all the ships that left Singapore when that was surrendered, and it's quite a detailed book. I mean, you can see how thick it is.
Yep.
It's quite a good book. It's not just a pamphlet. It's a good book. Some good pictures in the middle. Can you see them?
Yep.
There's some good pictures in it, but the detail looks quite interesting, because I don't know about you, Keith, but it's ever so awkward to find out about the boats and the ships which left.
There is a gentleman in New Zealand called Michael Pether.
Yeah,
and he has done quite a bit of work on some of the evacuation ships.
Yeah.
And it is on another website. I think it also might be on the MVG website. I'm not sure, because I've not gone into it, because he is an MVG member. But no, he's happy to share information. But he's done a shed load of work.
Yeah.
And I think there must be quite a bit of information in the National Archives. I've just not been looking in that particular area, because I think ships may well come under ADM files, which is Admiralty, possibly Colonial Office, because there are civilians involved. But no, Michael's work is quite exhaustive. That's what he's been going into doing.
Yeah.
So it should be an interesting book to put it all try and put both together.
Well, Tim sent me. I'm sure that wasn't you, John. I think that was Tim who sent me letters to Tom. And I did put that on. That's on in Far Eastern Heroes as letters to Tom, and they're all letters sent to Tom about the evacuation of his ship from Singapore. And I didn't realise, Keith, that they actually they told regiments to pick out so many men to go on these ships.
Oh, yeah. You go through the nominal rolls. Because in Changi, they were told to compile 2 copies of the regimental nominal rolls, men in the regiments, as from 8th of December 1941, which it was when the war kicked off in Malaya, which they duly did. And you come across quite a number of them, where it's, ordered away from Singapore on official escape party or something like this. So
Yeah.
there were quite a number that were told to go. There were quite a number that refused. One of who was Toosey, Brigadier Toosey, refused to go.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I was looking through some indexes yesterday, and I've made a note that his report is there. And if it's the one I think it is, it's the better copy. I may well start photographing that, 'cause I think Janice asked me for a copy of it.
Did I? I may well have.
It may well have been at the Arboretum.
Yes, quite.
So I'll have a look and see what that one's like. I know the original is in what they call a distressed file in WO32, and you just pick the report up and you can just go like that, and it will just be dust.
Yeah.
It's terrible. A lot of the paper is now starting to disintegrate.
That's such a pity.
It is.
All that information. Right, Tim, you're there. Can you hear us, Tim?
Yes, I can hear you fine. I was a bit late because the update took ages.
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about updates, weren't we, John?
Yes, you were, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Tim, we just mentioned you kindly sent me letters to Tom.
Yes, I heard that bit, Ronnie.
You heard
all right,
that
I was
bit.
there then.
That's brilliant. I thought that was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed writing that out because, I mean, that's so interesting. Particularly because he's writing to a friend. Who is Tom? Is it a friend? Is it his brother? Do we know?
I don't know.
No, we don't know.
But what I found from...
Yeah, but they're good. They're good letters, and the information in them is really good. So,
but what was funny about it was they were tucked away in some obscure file, which really didn't have anything to do with it.
No, but I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and that's worth reading, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a look at Far Eastern Heroes, it's under Letters to Tom.
Right. Okay.
And it's his evacuation from Malaya to Singapore. So he's got both in. When he was at 6th Norfolk's, him.
Yes, I think it was, yes.
Yeah, 6th Norfolk's, and they were told to find their own way back, weren't they, after the big battle? And he found his own way back, and so that shows the evacuation from Malaya to Singapore, and then he was picked to be evacuated from Singapore. So that tells you about his evacuation from Singapore and how he got to Colombo.
Oh,
so
right.
That's quite good. That's quite good.
We've had a little bit of trouble because I've had a couple of people contact me with the other organisation I belong to. And you've got my father down as a casualty. Well, he came back home. And it wasn't until I actually read the report that it's a report compiled after the surrender of casualties and missing.
Yeah.
So we've got to put a disclaimer on that and I say, look, hold on, this was early days, and the people that were missing were people up in Malaya.
Yeah,
a number of them escaped from Malaya to Java.
Yeah, I come across quite a few of them.
Yeah,
and it's got missing, and they even sent it out to the next in kin, didn't they?
Yeah.
So the next of kin got a thing saying they're missing, presumed dead, and they weren't dead.
No.
You know, it's I mean, some of these letters that went out, they didn't go out till December to say they were prisoners of war.
Yeah, the Japanese, if you like, I know it sounds a bit silly, but they would not deal direct with the Allied powers. It all had to go through Switzerland. And I think they had a pretty convoluted system of getting the information back to the Prisoner of War Information Bureau in Tokyo and then over to Switzerland. There's in files W0417, which covers the whole war. These are the reports that were issued by the casualty branch of the War Office as was then. And it will give you everybody who is missing. It initially starts as missing. And then it's missing, confirmed prisoner of war, missing, confirmed killed, missing, wounded, blah, blah. And my father was not confirmed as a No, the report to confirm my father was missing didn't arrive until I think it was May or June 42, just to say he was missing.
Yeah,
And
They're actually. I've been going through quite a few of these, and there's three, isn't there? There's three. The first one says missing since surrender. The second one said could be a POW, and the third one says he is a POW. So I mean, it's a long-winded. The families must have gone through hell, and you can sympathise with some women that thought the husbands were dead and they found another partner.
Yes.
You can sympathise with it, and it must have been a bit of a when you find out your husband wasn't dead and you're just married or something.
Yeah.
But
we were talking about this yesterday, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Right. Anyone else want to say anything? Kevin. Yeah, I got your email. You've got a lot of research going on, haven't you?
Well, it fits in quite well with what you've just been talking about, because my father was evacuated from Singapore on one of the ships that you've just been talking about. It was called the Pula Sugi, and they were picked because he was in the REOC workshops. They were going to try and set up another workshop in Java, so they picked 80 of them to go on the ship and send them to Java. And I think the total, there was about 44 ships actually left Singapore. I think all of them, apart from 4, were either sunk or captured. So his ship was actually sunk, and he ended up in the Palembang. Yeah. So that all fits in with that. But the research that I've been trying to do is, I cannot find the ships. There's a lot of information about the ships, but actually who was on the ships.
Who was on the ships.
Yeah, that's very difficult. So what I'm trying to do is do a cross-reference to the people in my father's unit when they actually left Singapore, because that was actually noted, and then I can say, well, if they left on I think it was the 13th of February, and the ship was sunk on the 16th of February, then that puts them in onto that ship, so I can actually cross-reference them people and put them actually onto that ship.
Yeah.
So that's the research that I've been doing.
Was he 18th Division RAOC or Malaya Command?
He was in the AOW, sorry. That's they were actually in Malaya. It was an advanced ordnance workshop.
Right, maybe it's okay, because I was thinking about looking at the nominal role.
Yeah, because they just like what Ronnie was saying, they got evacuated from Malaya. They were actually in Kuala Lumpur, and they went back to Singapore. And they were amalgamated with the 14th section REOC, and there was actually some of them men were on that ship as well. So I've got there's 2 units which I could probably put some good names to them on that particular ship.
I did come across during the week. I came across the war crimes trials. Yeah. I came across a lot from your area where your dad was in Java, in Sumatra.
Yeah.
Sumatra, he was in Sumatra, wasn't he? I came across a lot of war crimes files about that area. So are you on Find My Past, Kevin?
The what, sorry?
Are you on Find My Past?
No.
No, I'll try and find which ones are good for you and send them on to you.
Yeah.
Because
I've got the full reports.
You have got them?
Yeah, the full report from Palembang. They've actually got the picture of the Japanese who were actually on trial, and it tells you what actually happened to each one of them.
This is what I found. Yeah, that was quite interesting. Some of the stuff is that's
because the thing about the Palembang camp, which is the final camp they're in, it was basically the Japanese trying to starve them all to death, and that was why so many of them Japanese guards and commanders got hung, because they were actually trying to purposely kill the men in the camp by starving them to death.
Right.
Janice, come on, you said anything? Say something.
Well, I'm concentrating on what's going on at the moment. Listening to you.
Oh, we've got Barbara on as well, Barbara James. Can you hear us,
Hi.
Barbara? Yeah.
Hi
Hello,
there.
Barbara.
I'm actually looking at a photograph of Japanese war criminals, Major General Matoshi Saito. I don't know if I hold it up to the screen whether you can see that. I'm trying to. Can you see those?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just as you were talking about war criminals, and I was just looking at a book called The Knights of Bushido, and I noticed that there were pictures of these. There's Tominaga, the Inspector General of Police at Agata.
Yeah.
I don't know if that bears any sort of means anything to anybody.
Well, we had this on Facebook, didn't we? And that is one of the first books I actually did get in the 1950s.
Right.
Yeah, it was one of the first books I got. And it's a good book for war crimes. I mean, but because I read it right at the beginning, you are given the impression that every camp was the same. And of course that wasn't, was it? So it's a good book because it does pull forward the war crimes, but on the other hand, it doesn't give you everyday life in the camps.
No, that's true. It's just it was interesting hearing you talk about it.
Yeah.
And I literally got this sitting at the side of me.
Yeah, I've got mine up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the first I got. Let me get my earpieces in. Yeah, why we were the ones who haven't come on before, why we have earpieces is because sometimes we get feedback.
Okay.
And so we haven't got any feedback this morning, so everything's okay. But normally we sometimes get feedback. But that's the Knights of Bushido.
Right, mine's a soft copy and it's very old and battered.
Yeah, you can see how much I paid for it.
Oh my goodness.
And that is very old. It's 1958. It's a good book, but for somebody reading it who doesn't know any other books, who haven't read any other books, they would get the wrong impression, because although it's a good book and it gives all the atrocities and everything, it doesn't give the comradeship of the camps or anything like that. So it can be a bit misleading for the person who's just picking it up and deciding, I'll read this about the camps, because it isn't really, it's about atrocities. Yeah. And we were talking about this during the week, that why does he has a big bit on Makassar, but he doesn't say a lot about Sandakan. Now, Sandakan was one of the worst. I've been to
Sandakan.
Yeah, that was one of the worst, wasn't it? I mean, you got 2,500 men either killed or disposed of.
Yeah.
Only 6 Australians escaped. And if you read the book, the only bit about Sandakan in the book is the march those 6 were on.
Yes.
Because it must have been based on the war crimes trials. So he must have got most of his stuff from the war crimes trials. But when you read Lynette Silver's book, I mean, it's a thick book all about Sandakan, and that really is a good book.
I visited the museum, and you just cry when you hear what happened. I mean, this is the one that's relevant for me.
Yeah.
My dad was in Saigon.
Yeah. So, your dad was in Saigon at the beginning, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
Yeah, my dad was in at the end.
Oh, right, yes.
So my dad was in Saigon. He was on the railway, and then in February 1945, he was transported to Saigon. So he ended the war at Saigon.
Okay.
But your dad started
That's right.
At Saigon.
Your dad would have been destined for Japan, Ronnie.
He was.
It was Japan Party 4.
Yeah.
But they decided.
Yeah, all the ships were being sunk, so they decided not to send him. So he ended up with my uncle, who was also with him on the railway. They both ended up at Saigon.
Do you know which train he came back to Singapore on? And when?
Sorry, Keith?
Do you know which train he came back to Singapore on and when?
No, I don't.
Right, okay.
He said he was at Singapore for quite a while.
Yeah, I dig.
So he must have come back, mid 44, whatever. Because he said when they left Singapore, the food at Singapore wasn't too bad. But when they got back to Singapore, that was even worse than they had on the railway.
Yeah.
Because they were taking leaves off the bushes to eat. He said that the bushes didn't have any green on them at all. So he didn't. He said, to be honest, that was a relief to get to Saigon, because at least they had good food.
His name was your father's name, first names?
Frederick Noel Taylor.
Frederick Noel Taylor. Okay, I'll have a look.
Yeah.
Because there is a file of Thailand POW movements.
Yeah.
And it will give the men, it should give your father's name on the list of men going to Saigon on the 2nd. There was an earlier ship as well. And it will have initials by the side of it, and that will be the commander of the train he came back to Singapore on, and we can track the date.
Yeah,
so I'll have a look at that. Yeah, I'm up there next Saturday, snow permitting.
Brilliant. That'd be good. Please.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, really, Dad didn't fill his liberation form in.
No.
Because he did actually get it for me. He didn't actually fill it in. He just put a cross through it. He didn't want to know. He wanted to get home. So really, the only information I've got on my dad is what he wrote in his diary. And he wrote his diary, on the way home. So I did get quite a bit of information. But right at the bottom, he put, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And he didn't until... I think I've mentioned this before. In the 60s, Ban the Bomb. I was quite into Ban the Bomb, and he gave me his diary to read. At the time, a lot of it he wrote it in pencil. A lot of it was faded, but I got most of it out. A lot of it was to my mum, which I left out. Funny enough, he called the Japs nips, but he called my mum Snip. I don't know why, but he called it Snip.
If you called a Japanese guard or any Japanese while you were in captivity a Jap, you got beaten. They were known as Nippon.
Yeah,
that's
why he called nips. Yeah.
But the trouble is, a lot of these forms weren't filled in because they'd already filled in a nice selection of them for RAPWE. And some of these forms, I'll have to send you the letter I found with a POW questionnaire, Ronnie, and it's from one of the officers on the motorway on the way home, saying why the men aren't filling the forms in because they've done it all once and they're something else. They really don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting, that you think, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously there was men too ill to fill the forms in.
But it was a few meetings ago, we actually came across the same thing, didn't we, Keith? That my dad came home on the Chitral.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, and so did yours. And something we didn't find out until we started talking. We wouldn't have really thought about it, would we?
No, there's a lot of people, if you stop and sit down and think, there's a lot of information that is not in the public domain. And you have to ask yourself, is it withheld? And if so, why? Or has it been destroyed? Where's the RAPWE reports?
Yeah.
Things like this. Where's the list of the men on the ships coming home?
Yeah.
It's always
right. Janice, we're leaving it open to you. Go on.
There's something that puzzles me, a piece of film with my father walking towards the cameraman, and it pans down to his feet, where his feet have been broken as a means of punishment or extracting information. But it seems as though he's in Singapore, and Dad finished the war in Japan, in Fanatsu. So I don't understand how this piece of filming was done with him wearing a loincloth in Singapore, when I know he was from June 44 in Fanatsu.
Yeah. So when did this photo of the loincloth happen?
Well, this is what I can't find out. It's on a lot of, it comes on television, suggesting that it's war crimes evidence. It's played in quite a few museums. He's walking towards the camera, wearing a loincloth, and the only thing that I remember that he said to me was
Janice, can you turn your sound down a bit, because we are getting feedback and it's making it awkward to hear you.
Okay.
Your sound of your speaker. Because
right, yes.
We are getting feedback. Try again.
Is that better?
No, your sound, we can hear you, but the sound isn't brilliant.
Okay. That's about as much as I can. I'm on a tab.
Yeah.
In Spain.
Go on, carry on. We're listening.
He's walking. He remembers walking past a group of people, and he remembers being photographed or filmed, but he never saw it in his lifetime. But it's been coming up since about the 70s on television, on different museums. It's in the Thai Burma Railway Centre. You can pick it up on YouTube, all sorts of places. But I can't understand how, if he was liberated, and I have photographs of him in Fanatsu, reasonably dressed and reasonably fed, he's definitely liberated from Japan. So where does this piece of film come from? Where he's back wearing a loincloth, parading in front of people.
What date did we find out he went to Japan?
4th or 5th of June, 44.
Yeah, so he was on the railway. Yes, so the film could have been taken by the Japs, couldn't it, Keith?
Yep.
On the railway.
Yep.
They did take quite a bit of film, so they couldn't. They took film to show they were superior, I suppose, weren't it? And they built the railway. There was quite a bit of propaganda film, so they could have taken the film, or it could have been the Red Cross were attending, and they were trying to make it look as though they were good propaganda, because they did that quite a bit. So the film could have been taken by the Japanese.
Could have been taken even on liberation.
Yeah.
It could possibly have been taken on liberation by the Americans, because whatever clothes they had in the camps, even the stuff that was dropped to them, they were made to put in a pile for destruction. So it could well have been taken by the Americans on liberation.
Yeah.
The Yokohama or something like that.
It's got the huts, as if it is in Singapore or something like that.
All right.
And the photographs I've got of him on liberation are just our guiles standing in a group, and he's wearing trousers and a shirt. So it's completely out of sequence. And what you were saying about propaganda seems to fit in better as an explanation.
There was quite a bit of film, and plus when the Red Cross were going to visit camps, the Japs did go out of their way to make it look as though they were looking after the prisoners. So they had better food, they had everything better when the Red Cross visited, and the Red Cross did visit the camps quite a bit.
Yes.
So,
but is it that towards the camera, it pans down to his broken feet? This is what I can't get my head around. Why that?
Yeah, did he ever say how they broke his feet?
Well, he only said every bone on that foot has been broken at some time or the other when I lived in the jungle. And I imagined he tripped over tree roots and things like this. I was a little girl asking, and he said, "Oh, that would be terrible."
Yeah, he could have. There's loads of accidents that could have happened. I mean, he could have had a rock fall on him. He could have had anything, couldn't he? So that might not necessarily be the Japs that did it. That could have been an accident.
The other thing is that when in 1972 he fell and he broke his ankle, he developed Parkinson's disease in the 70s. He fell and broke his ankle, and as fast as they were putting his leg in plaster, he was ripping it off again, saying he wasn't having his foot trapped in that thing.
Yeah.
But there seems to have been something gone around about his foot, and it was a young doctor in the hospital who spoke to him about having been a prisoner of war and said to me, who knows what may have happened there. And interestingly, after Dad had spoken to this young doctor, he allowed his foot to be put in plaster.
Yeah.
I think it was deliberately broken.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Martin isn't with us today because Martin did find a lot of forms about casualties in the camps. Maybe next time we see Martin, when he comes on, we can ask him about that. He might have come across some because he did say to me once he'd try and find out about my father, because my father was, I mean, most of them had malaria, and so my dad had malaria in the camps. But we'll have to ask Martin about that because you haven't come across these forms, have you, Keith?
No, if you can get me some references or some ideas, I'll have a look at Q, no problem.
Yeah, no, Martin is we'll ask Martin how he come across them, because Martin does come across some really good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know where he gets it from, but that is really good stuff.
They're probably thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Well, I was yesterday going through liberation questionnaires. I actually came across a medical report for one particular POW filled in Manila. It was an Australian form. Never seen it before.
Yeah.
I've taken a photograph of it. Never seen it before.
Yeah, I came across one when I was looking at Norfolks, and that was a New Zealander or something, and so he might have been serving with the Norfolks, but I came across his, and that had his address, New Zealand, on there. But right, Barbara, it's really nice to see you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I'm
great
very
to
much a
have you.
novice at this. I'm just learning how it works.
No, you're coming across really well. Really
Very
well.
anxious about it, which is why I haven't come on before.
No, that's really good. I mean, you can hear we just talk.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm enjoying it. Really enjoying it.
It's really informal. We don't make it too formal.
No.
But no, it's some of the things are quite interesting.
They're all interesting.
Well, I can't. I'm writing here quite a bit, so I don't have the time to get to Q. So I joined Find My Past, like Keith has now, and I get a lot of my information from them because I can sit here and get information and write it out straight away. So to me, it's this isn't my main computer. My main computer is. You see it?
Okay, brilliant.
My main computer's there. That's where I do all my work. This is my laptop.
I followed you for years, Ronnie. I followed you for years, and Keith has been fabulous with his help to me too. Yeah.
Well, we have known each other for years, haven't we, Keith?
Oh yeah, long time. Gosh.
Yeah, we can you remember that rainy day in 2007?
Yep.
Yeah. And afterwards, the Great Yarmouth, honestly, they really did us proud.
They did that day, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did. They put up a thing so the person who was speaking didn't get wet outside the memorial, which was brilliant. And then they actually they gave us a room, and they supplied tea, biscuits, and everything. Because we had a lot of FEPOWs there that day, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And they supplied tea and biscuits so we could all go and sit in, and we had a real good chat. The FEPOWs are brilliant, and I don't think any of them are there now. Keith.
No, I don't think they are they now? Very sadly.
Yeah, Reg was brilliant. Reg helped me organise at Reg Rayner. We've said this before about the first. Are you right, Ray?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Have you only just come on?
No, I've been here all the time.
Oh yeah, we didn't see you on screen, mate. Sorry, I should have said. For everyone, Barbara, Janice, who haven't met Ray, this is Ray. He's on
Hello,
screen.
Ray.
Hello.
Yeah. Ray does a lot. I'm not going to say it, Ray. Go on.
Go on, say it.
No, Ruben.
That's it. That'll do.
Oh, come on! Yeah.
I think Ray gave a talk at the Researching
He
FEPOW
did.
History conference.
Yep.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm aware of Ray, and obviously
Yeah.
Janice, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you all know Kevin and John and Bernard, who's off screen at the moment.
is Bernard the guy whose father did the Changi cross?
That's right. Ah,
Yeah.
now I'll just alter this. Can you all see everyone now?
Hello, Bernard.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's
That's
good.
right.
Yeah, we can see everyone now. Yeah, Bernard, give us a wave, Bernard. Right, but yeah, Bernard's dad did the Changi cross, and we were saying last time, unfortunately, his dad died on the way home. For you, I don't know if you've seen this on the video, but his dad died on the way home. He'd already lost his mother, so his grandparents brought him and his sister, who's unfortunately just died, up. And the one who went to England died last year, Bernard, wasn't it?
Yes, my sister next down to me died last June, and my baby sister, her funeral's tomorrow.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, our thoughts are with you, Bernard.
Yeah. Condolences to you, Bernard.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I was over there with you, Bernard, but yeah, I know she's being buried in England.
In Potter's Bar.
Yeah, and so Bernard is in Wales. Although most of you think Bernard is Welsh, he's not. He's born in London, but his Welsh accent came to you when you were 2, wasn't it? You moved to Wales.
About 3, I think, 3 or 4.
About 3.
All right.
So he's picked up the Welsh accent from then. That's a lovely accent. Love that. I love his accent. Anyway, yeah. So Tim, we haven't heard from Tim.
Right, I've only got one thing, Ronnie. It's not actually a POW thing. But I've got a new book which I haven't actually read. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's called
Oh, yes, that's just come out, hasn't it?
It's only just come out. Yes.
Yeah.
It was Pat Walker put it on to me, who I think you know, Keith, don't you?
Yeah.
From the 6HAA. But anyway, I'm going to look forward to reading that because
Yes, that's one I've got probably quite a few books I want to get.
Yeah. Have you read it yet, Keith?
No, I haven't got that one yet. I saw it was advertised in the Java Journal.
What is the background?
It's basically it says it's to memory of the officers and men of the British and Allied Armed Forces in Java, especially the 49th Battery of the 48th LAA. But it really concerns quite a lot of the other people who were involved actually in Sumatra and Java immediately after the fall of Singapore and before they were captured.
That's one for you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much is it, Tim?
I don't know. I got it off Amazon. I only got it 2 days ago. Just say I got I don't know if you know Pat Walker. Do you, Ron?
It's at £12.95.
Yeah, it hasn't got a price on it. I got it through Amazon. But it looks quite interesting. I've read snippets of it, and it looks like it's been quite well researched.
Yeah. Next meeting, let us know what it's like.
I might not have read it by then.
Oh, come on. You've got 14 days. Only take a couple. Once I get my news in a book, I can't put it down.
Seen that one?
No, I ain't seen that.
Sorry, can you see it?
Now lift it up a bit, Keith.
Lift it up a bit. Royal Artillery.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I've read
Yeah,
that
'cause
one. That
yeah. Go on, Tim.
that's a very good book as well. That's
is.
a 6HAA book, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
That's
you
well
two are
researched
really
as
into
well.
the Royal Artillery, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, you two are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a number of us.
Can I ask Keith? Does that book cover the anti-aircraft? That my father was in the Searchlight. Would I find it?
Not
that?
not in that particular book. No. That
Is
one's
there a book that you
concerning
could
one
recommend?
regiment.
I had a paper cutting from a chap who was a FEPO with my dad, who was searching for him, and part of it he said that my dad was on sound location.
Oh yeah.
That's something I would really like to know. I know this isn't a FEPO thing, but to me, my father's history is total, so I need to know what he did before. And Keith, you found those marvellous things of the printout of what they were instructed to do when they were in Singapore.
Yeah,
But
so
I'm very interested in knowing what sound location was, with reference to them being, on the. I mean, I know that he was based in Bristol when all the Blitz was on there. He was in Bristol. Whether they used sound location to track down the planes coming in.
They would have used sound location, most definitely.
It's only on this sort of printout from the newspaper that gave me this
I'll see what I've got.
information.
I'll see what I've got. There was a series on television, and it covered Bristol, and it was something to do with bombs that changed the war, something like that. And they did have one on Bristol.
That's right.
But I'll see what I've got, because sound location, basically, just to describe it simply, was an apparatus which was basically a number of big horns that could hopefully track the sound coming in. So you would get the observer corps radio back to try and they would then try and locate the aircraft by sound rather than anything else initially. And then they could train the searchlights on them, or not, as the case may be. I'll see what I've got here.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you, Keith.
I don't think there's anything at Kew. I'll have a look. I've got some Royal Artillery books. I'll see what's in those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keith, I don't know if you remember from the last news sheet that I put out for our organisation, but I've always thought of my dad being part of the Forgotten Army.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he is. Are the Forgotten Army those that were in Burma? And can anybody clarify that?
Initially, they were, the 14th Army was known as the Forgotten Army because they were the last to get the supplies, they were the last to get this, the last to get that, the last to get aircraft, for whatever reason. Everybody was primarily concerned, apart from those obviously that had next of kin fighting in the Far East or prisoners in the Far East. The bulk of the nation was concerned about the war in Europe and the Western Desert.
Yeah.
And that's why they called themselves the Forgotten Army.
Yeah, but I always think of my dad being a FEPO as the Forgotten Army, but somebody corrected me and said, no, the FEPOs aren't forgotten. And I took a deep breath. And I said, no, it was the guys in Burma, which it seems to be now the way that my interest is going, because I know about my dad, basically. I'm always finding out new things. But I want to know the wider picture. I don't know if the rest of you have this interest. Sorry, Janice. And when I was at the Memorial Day, laying a wreath on behalf of the Birmingham Association last year, and I was talking to a guy that I knew, he told me about a book called Another Brummie in Burma, which I read quite avidly. He lived not far from where I actually live. And that was fascinating, but that sort of gave me a lot of interest then to know what happened in Burma with people like the Chindits, the Gurkhas. It's a really fascinating part of the Far Eastern story, and I think we all need to know about that too.
Forget the Norfolks, the second
Norfolks. That's it. Yeah, the mention in this book is that this guy was a medic.
Yeah, my uncle was second Norfolks. He was in Burma.
Yeah, but that's really grabbed my interest. So I'm trying to find out a lot more about that now.
I did write an article which is in Battle of Britain at War, because the second Norfolks were in Burma,
Yep.
and so I did do quite a bit of research on Koima, which was the first battle we actually won against the Japanese.
Right.
And it was a bloodthirsty battle, hand-to-hand fighting. It wasn't a
Yes.
pretty battle. That was a
No.
really nasty battle.
I've
And
gathered that from this book.
yeah,
you
the
know.
Koima was quite. But if you look at Britain at War, Koima, well, I think I called it. If you go into the Roll of Honour in appendum at the beginning, and look up articles,
Yes.
and look up Battle for Burma. I think I
Yes.
called it Battle for Burma. I wrote it quite a while ago, about 1999, so that's not. It looks a bit old-fashioned now, but the detail is there about Koima. And Koima was actually I wrote the article, and there wasn't much on then, was there, Keith? So
No.
I wrote this article, and an American lawyer got in touch with me and said, "Can I use your article?" Was in a court case.
Really?
Yeah, he's taken them to court, and so he did use it in a court case.
Yeah, a lot
Ron,
of
while you're mentioning Kohima, and the Kohima epitaph comes to mind.
Mhm.
When was that written?
I've got no idea, Keith.
No,
Is
likewise.
this from the Second World War, or is it before that?
Well,
I think it's from the Second World War.
that
It
would be
may
the
have,
Second
it
World War.
may have been the Burma guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really big battle.
Yeah, it may have been the Burma guys that wrote it when they came home.
Yeah, that was
Because the actual prayer I've noticed being used at different things recently. I think it was Prince Harry or Prince William actually used it in something he was doing, which fascinated me because it wasn't anything to do with FEPOW, which I always associate it with.
No, the
And I thought
Kohima
it's interesting
epitaph.
that is being used.
That would have been the 14th Army, I would suspect, Barbara.
Yeah.
It would have been the 14th Army. If you can get hold of it, Road of Bones
Road
by
of Bones.
Fergal Keane.
Fergal Keane. Okay.
Very good book on the Burma campaign.
I'm getting lots of useful information. This is brilliant. Thank you so much.
Barbara, my father was a Normandy veteran, and for many, many years he was part of the Normandy Veterans Association. And at the end of every meeting, they always read out the Kohima epitaph. So it's a universal prayer, not just for FEPOWs.
Oh, Station Sake,
Oh.
yeah, got that one.
Okay.
that's absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
It's all about Burma, and as you can see, I've had this for quite a while. Again, the price too.
That's a Second World War one.
Well, it is the Burma campaign.
Yeah, I got
And
that one.
it's absolutely brilliant. It really is a good book. And if you want to know anything about Burma, it was Southeast Asian Command.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay,
really
thank
is good. I mean, it's only but
I'll
it
drop your
does
book list. I'll drop
it
your
does
book list,
have a-
Barbara.
yeah. it
Okay.
does
Yeah.
have
Thank you,
quite
Keith.
a lot
Thank you.
in it. But Koima fascinated me. Did fascinate me. I think I've told the tale before about my uncle. For those who didn't hear it, I'll say it quick. My uncle was in the Second Norfolks, and they knew the Japanese patrol were going through the jungle at this particular point in Burma, and they laid in wait for him. They knew they were going to take the path. They laid in wait for him, had the guns trained on the path, and he heard a sound behind him, and he turned. He was laying there with his gun on the thing, looked up, and there's a Japanese stand behind him with his gun trained on his head, and he went bang and walked back in the jungle smiling. So he got away with that one. But the fighting was, a lot of the fighting in Burma was hand to hand.
Hand to hand, yeah, I've
the
gathered.
is absolutely fantastic to
Yeah.
read about the
And I
Chins.
think it's important to know the whole picture of what happened. And they don't seem to get the recognition either. You know, I know my father was a FEPO, but I greatly admire the ones that fought in Burma.
They, I mean, you've got to. I mean, the Japanese had been at war since 1933, 31. So they're Manchuria, and then Vietnam. Well, French Indochina, no Vietnam. They'd been in war for quite a while, so they knew jungle warfare.
Yeah.
We didn't know a thing.
No.
But the Chindits, they took on what the Japs did to us and got round behind the Japanese, exactly the same as the Japs done to us down Malaya. And they gave the Japanese exactly the same as what they gave us in Malaya. And they forced the Japanese to move back and back.
Yes.
And again, you know, that we've had this come up before, haven't we, Keith, about the railway? Why keep going on about the railway? Well, the railway was there to provide the Japanese in Burma with their supplies.
Yep.
So the railway has got a lot to do with Burma.
Yep, and and obviously the two escape roads they tried building afterwards. One was the Whampoa Tavoy Road, which people know very little about.
Yeah.
I found a war crimes report about that yesterday. And the other one, of course, there's a lot in queue about, is the Mugui Road.
Yeah.
And even the Japs were dying on that one. It was so bad.
Somebody got in touch with me years ago, and again, that was quite a few years ago, and I did go into the Murgai Road, and I wrote quite a bit about that. It's again, you know, that was a bit of a funny situation to be in. They were really pushed as well, like on the railway. A lot of them died, didn't they?
1,000 men in the work party, I believe, of which 25% were fatalities on the road.
Yeah.
Because there was no medicine, no supplies, no nothing. And I don't know how many succumbed after that. You know, it's like F Force and H Force when they came back to Singapore. How many of those men died in Changi? We don't, you know, we could dig and find out, yes, but the Mugui Road certainly it was near the end of the war, and it was basically, I think it was the Australians that found them. It wasn't the Brits; it was the Australians. Yeah. And obviously got them back where they could to Nakhon Pathom.
Yeah, I actually found a document on that, and that was quite a good document, and that started me off writing about it. And then somebody else sent me some information about their father on the road, and so I started putting it all together, and that was as bad as the railway.
Oh, dear old Tom Mackey was on the Mugui Road, Barbara.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
You know, because the very first time I met Tom, we were at a book launch. It was by a gentleman called Don Few, and it was called A Helping Hand, which I've got a copy of.
Right. And
there was this Scottish voice came across the room. You didn't bloody well tell him much about the road, did you? And that's the first time I'd ever met Tom.
Yeah. What a character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have a look at the Roll of Honour under the Thailand-Burma Railway, I have actually got the death list of the Murgai Road on there and the history of it. So but then in the, I think I put the history in there. So it's actually in the Roll of Honour.
I'll have a look at that because I've got a file somebody sent me from Australia, from the Australian War Memorial, and it was a file handed in by one of the medics, Major Dew, I think it was, of the Indian Army. So I'll see if you've got those on. If not, I'll send it to you and put those on.
I've got the short history, the detailed history, the complete roll of the Murgai Road.
Right.
I got the maps as well showing the camps. But I did this quite a while ago. I just copied it across, but it's quite detailed. Oh, and I've actually got the booklet on there. I put the booklet on by John L. Sugden.
Ah, yeah.
And that is the actual booklet he wrote on the Murgai Road. So that's on there. And a diary, Murgai episode, and that's the diary of what happened. And another one, Rangoon Liberator,
the
Jap sadism on the road.
Yep.
So there's quite a bit on there. And then the war crimes trials, I put them on there as well. So that's all within that section on the Roll of Honour. But if you're interested in that, it's worth looking at.
Can I say, going back to the Malay campaign, a lot of that, I understand, was hand-to-hand fighting as well. But the Argylls were confronting the Japanese after they landed at the Ipoh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Kotapahua.
Yeah. A lot of the fighting was hand-to-hand. I mean, when I had the talk with John Cooper, he was telling me about the fighting in Adams Road,
On
Adams
the island.
Park, and and that was quite as well. And he told me he walked around the park. He was walking around the park, and they had a lot of wells in the park, and they were actually putting the bodies down the wells, and a lot of them are still there down the wells. So it's, war isn't a pretty thing, is it?
No.
It's the same as we were saying about Sandakan. I mean, Barbara was saying about Sandakan, and I got quite into that because I put the complete roll on, and Lynette Silver helped me. We got in touch quite a bit, and she was helping me with different bits and pieces, and she let me use a lot from her book, which was really good of her. So I put that together, and then I had a family get in touch, and they asked me to let them know what happened to their father, and I found out he was the last one at Sandakan they crucified. I couldn't tell them that.
No.
I just couldn't tell them that. I just said he died at Sandakan. You can't tell someone that.
No, you got a duty of care. I mean, I finished doing one. Well, I haven't finished doing one. I was given a name and a number, and I tracked what I think is this guy. The only way I can't confirm, because they don't put a number in the nominal roll of this particular regiment, and it had by his name C over on the roll. Turned it over. Dismissed from service, court-martialed at Neesoon jail. So I just said I can't find it. Why don't you get his service record? Let's see what that tells us.
Yeah.
So being cowardly, if you like, there again, it's. I just look at it as a duty of care. There's only so much you can tell people, and then you've got to say, well, look, I suggest you go down this road. And if they find something and it corroborates that, fine. If it's something different, then you start again. But no, there's something.
Yeah, sometimes it's best not to dot your.
No, sometimes
eyes.
it's
It's best to leave something open, and sometimes it gives emphasis on what you're trying to pull across as well. Because if you put all, I'm being crude, blood and guts.
Yep.
If you put all blood and guts down, getting away from the FEPOW. Some of the best horror films was Hitchcock. And Hitchcock didn't show you the blood and guts. He left it to your imagination.
Yeah.
And to me, it's best left that way, because your imagination can make it. You can make it what it was. Where if you're listening to the blood and guts, you go, and you don't want to know anymore.
No.
Oops. I lost my earpieces. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's best not to dot your I's.
Very true.
Anyway, anyone else? Ray, come on.
I've just got an email about 10 days, 2 weeks ago, from a lady who I've not met before. But her father, her grandfather, I think, was at the Ubon camp, and she's found the 2 missing copies of the Ubon newspaper. This was a newspaper that was produced after the liberation, but before the repatriation, because there was a period of about 6 or 7 weeks before the POWs were repatriated. And to pass the time away, some of the guys got together and produced a newspaper. I found one copy, which was headed issue number 2 at the Imperial War Museum. So I knew that there was another, well, at least one copy somewhere, because issue number 1 would be there. And this lady has them, the originals. Her father brought them back with her. So that's a really big find.
Brilliant.
In the last couple of weeks.
Well done, Ray.
Is it interesting reading?
I've not, unfortunately, she's not been able to scan it to send. All she sent is copies of the front sheet. So I've not read the inside yet. But if it's anything like copy number 2, then it will have a lot of information in there about the camp. There was a lot of information about what life was like back in Britain. And there was a lot of sort of satirical stuff as well, sort of jokey stuff. Lots of drawings as well, cartoon type drawings in it as well. So, and 10 pages long, the second edition. So, lots of stuff in there.
Be good to see it, Ray.
Yeah. I'm just going to give her a few more days, and then I'll just sort of give her a nudge and maybe actually go down and scan it myself.
Does she live near you?
Rugby. It's about 100 miles away, but it's worth a trip.
Yeah, for that. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't know if anybody's joined the British Newspaper Archives. That I joined on Friday, and I've not been off the website since. Lots of information, lots and lots of newspapers, magazines, stuff. Going back, my particular interest is obviously Ubon, which is a camp rather than an individual. But I have searched for individuals and found press cuttings relating to them, like Colonel Toosey, like Major John David Smiley. There's good information on there, and it's. I found lots of cuttings, probably I think about 10 cuttings from newspapers all up and down the country about when information got back to the UK about the survival of prisoners, and letters that they'd written home and extracts from those letters about their experience, and basically how pleased they were to be released. But there's a connection there, that's what I'm saying.
That stuff you were just talking about, Ray. Louise Reynolds.
Yeah.
Let her know some of that. What they did when they came home and how they got on in life on the way home.
Yeah.
She's very interested.
Yeah.
There was a situation with my grandmother, who didn't know where my father was since he was in India in 1939, and she went to look at the cinema, and they played a piece of film, and it happened to be this piece of film of Dad walking towards the camera with his broken legs and his loincloth, and she got the projector man to play it again after, so she could definitely confirm that was her son. And that's the first she'd seen him go since 1939.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And just one other piece of info. I acquired a book written by a Dutch prisoner of war at Ubon, written in Dutch, so I had to put it through Google Translate. 11,500 words I ended up with. So it's quite a good story. But like all research, when you solve one problem, 10 more appear on the paper, don't they?
Yep.
There's quite a long passage about another liberator on the camp called Red Ant. And he doesn't elaborate on this Red Ant, whether he was Thai, British, American or what. But I have cross-referenced it with another file that I was given from Holland, about this character called the Red Ant. Well, who the Red Ant is, I just don't know. So that's just something else I'll have to find out in the future. So it's all coming together.
Yeah.
Following on from the sad death of Tricia Walker, she said that a couple of meetings ago, maybe 3 years ago, a film was going to be made of her book. Did anybody know anything further about that?
No, not heard anything more. Whether it will go ahead now, I just don't know.
No, not heard anything for a couple of years.
No.
Mm.
Right, Jenny.
Oh.
You're not going to sleep.
No.
I can't see you on mine. I can only see you on the other one because you're behind me on that one. You're hiding up behind me. Come on.
I've not been doing a lot because of work, but I have read the Up Came the Dawn Like Thunder, which was recommended a few months back.
Brilliant.
And which I found really fascinating reading, and there was times where I had a picture in my head and seeing the pictures on the paper helped. I am now started the John Coast book, so hopefully I'll get through that soon. And the other night I started just sort of doing a Google search of some of the information you had gotten me, Keith, before the conference in Liverpool about my grandfather and going up to Camp 1, etc. Find My Past did give me the same form that said that you had advised me that he'd left Changi on the 5th of November, and I found that on Find My Past, but I haven't really got much further at the moment.
Did we get his liberation questionnaire?
Yes, I've got that, but he only says that he was non-Pleduk and Nakhon so he only started putting these camps from 1943 onwards, so I hadn't got that bit from when he went classed as missing on his service record, and then you'd given me the information about November 42.
Right, non-Pleduk, yeah, that was base camp from first work group on the railway. Yeah, work group one base camp.
Yeah, I've got.
Mind you, there were two camps.
Yeah, it says non-Pleduk number 2
Yeah.
was the 2nd of March 44 to the 3rd of September 44, and then it was Nakhon Paton from there until August 45.
So it's finding where he was from 1942 until 1944. Could have been a non-Pleduk one, you never know.
Yeah, I think you just said he went to Camp 1 and it was one of the small camps with only 7,200.
That was the work group.
Yeah, so he went with the party.
That was definitely non-Pleduk. Yeah, that's where my dad was, wasn't it? And that was the service camp. That's where they had all the service gear. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the other screen because I can't see Jenny on that one. But no, that was my dad was there. Your dad went up June 42. Is that right? Did he go up June 42? What date did he go up?
November 42.
November 5th of November.
Well, my dad went up June 42. And he stayed at non-Pleduk for quite a while until the Japs moved the service further up line. Of course, that's where they stored all the tracks and everything. And then he moved further up line when they. But no, that non-Pleduk wasn't a very big camp because that was just for the service. That wasn't really a camp for POWs as such, a work camp. So they just loaded the trucks and that was it. They didn't dig anything.
No, there were two camps there.
Yeah.
Non-Pleduk 1 and non-Pleduk 2.
Yeah. But
that was where there was an accidental friendly fire incident, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the bombing raid.
That's right.
Yeah. Right, who haven't we heard from? Oh, Jenny, have you finished, Jenny? Oh, yes. Yeah. You were talking about the book. Yeah.
On my dad's liberation questionnaire.
The Dawn one. Sorry,
I'm interrupting. On Dad's liberation form, they ask which camp he's at. It just says various.
Yeah, I know you come across those. Some of them are very, very detailed. Some of them aren't. I would imagine the reason some of them aren't is either A, the guys could remember, or B, I've given all this information to one set of the military. Why am I doing it again? You know, you've had it all once. And frustrating, yes. Very frustrating.
Can, you know, with two seats, it's got two.
Unfortunately, this book, I mean, that got really, when it came out, that got some really bad write-ups because Bill Duncan gave the intro to the book.
Yeah, the original one.
Then they found out that he wasn't actually a POW in any rate. So it got some bad publicity. But I noticed this the other day, Keith. Did you notice on page 231 of the new book, they've got the Deception Bill Duncan issue, and they've actually got a full page about it.
Yeah.
Well, more than that, all about how he deceived
Leo Rawlings.
How he deceived him into putting his intro into the book. And that was ever so nice when I did actually put some pictures on. I put Painting the Artists on, and his daughter got in touch with me. This is a long time before that came out, because that's got more pictures in than the original book. But she got in touch with me, and I asked her if I could use his pictures, and she did actually gave me permission to put them in the artist Painting the Horror, which I did.
Yeah. And
she actually gave me permission, which I thought was brilliant. But then when you look at the new book, it's got a lot more pictures in it. It's still a good book, but I still like the John Coast book best.
Yep.
The John Coast book is actually so detailed, and he doesn't tell you about all the blood and gore. He tells you about life in the camps, which is brilliant. Right, Bernard. Come on, Bernard. You're not getting away with it.
Remember, Ron, I sent you a picture, a photograph that my father, I suspect my father took it, of a grave. And the man's name was Rain, R-A-Y.
I didn't get that, Bernard.
Yeah.
When did you send that?
Oh, a couple of years ago.
Oh, did I write it in the Roll of Honour? I can't remember that far back. My memory can only remember a week.
Yes. Now, I knew of that photograph for many years, from when I was a young boy. When I had
that was one of your dad. No, not your dad. Yeah, did I write about it, Bernard?
I think you did. Well, you came back to me straight away. You give me the
I must have. Yeah, I must have put it in the Roll of Honour.
He was a Cornish man, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember Bernard. What was his name again? Go on.
Rain.
Rain. His
Instead
second
of
name, R-A-Y-N?
Yes.
Yeah, just a minute. You carry on, Bernard. I'm listening.
As I say, I knew of this photograph for many years when I was a young boy. And I always thought it was a grave of an animal, because it was like as if it was in the jungle and there was barbed wire around it. And I studied that photograph for a long time, and I couldn't manage to get the name. And then I added green to the picture.
Yeah.
And
Arthur Hellowell Rain.
Yes.
I've got it on here. I did put it on, and that has got your photo on it with the wire around it.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah. He was a gunner.
Yes.
Yeah, and
that was in Singapore, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was buried at Kranji, so yeah, it was Singapore.
Yeah, he was reburied at Changi, wasn't he?
Kranji. Yeah, he died between the 11th of the 2nd and the 12th of the 2nd, so he died in the battle for Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I asked were there any members of his family left, remember?
Yeah. Well, nobody's got in touch with me about it, but
No.
you know, it's on there, so if somebody sees it, they'll get in touch.
Yeah.
That does say husband of Kathleen and son of Joseph, but they'll be gone now.
Mm.
But no, that is on there. That's his number and everything, so it's there, Bernard.
I often see a builder's van running around here with the name of Rain on it.
Ah,
And
Makes you wonder.
I suppose if I stopped it wouldn't be a member
well,
of the family.
yeah.
It would be one of
According to his loved ones,
the,
they
yes.
were Yorkshire.
Oh, I thought they were Cornish.
No, his mother and father were Yorkshire. Oh, his wife Kathleen was. Oh, I can't say that. I don't know if it's Welsh or what it is. HECKMONDWKYKE.
Heckman White.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heckenwick,
where's that?
Lancashire.
Oh, so
I
yeah,
think it is. Or it might be
So-
Yorkshire.
yeah. Well, his mother and father are Yorkshire, so it could be Yorkshire. But that's where the wife was. So they weren't. They
Not
were.
too far away.
Yeah, they were Yorkshire, Bernard.
I always thought it was Cornish.
No,
Well, no.
no.
Families move about nowadays.
I studied that photograph for many years, Ron, when I was a young boy.
Yeah.
I wondered, what was it? Was it a grave of an animal or what? But then it had a cross on it as well, you see, Ron, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's a wooden cross.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a wooden cross, so it could have been made, you know.
I still got the photograph.
Yeah, that could have been made. I mean, there's a really big bunch of flowers, and it looks as though that could have been a bomb, you know, pool, because the grave is actually in the dip,
Yes, yes,
so that could actually be where he died, and they're
yes.
just buried in there.
Now, I'm not sure whether there's another photograph there of the same grave and an expanded sort of view. And as you go up the hill, then there's like a tin shack building
Yeah,
on the top.
Yeah, I can see it online.
You've got it down there, yeah?
Yeah, I've got that. That's on the top left.
Yeah.
It's it's not a building as such. It looks like a kind of lean-to with a tin roof.
Could be. Yeah.
But nobody has got in touch about it, Bernard. But it's there, so he's remembered in the Roll of Honour. So if somebody does see it, they'll get in touch. And
Yes. Because they were in the same batch of photos that I found of the Changi Chapel,
yeah,
St. George's Church, if you remember.
yeah.
And my sister, that my next one down, that died last June, she said that she'd found this photograph, and it looks as if it's in a church. Oh, I said, I know what it is.
Yeah.
It was the Changi Chapel.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the photo I sent you, isn't it? Because somebody sent that to me. I think it was Burl Canwell, is it, Keith?
Yep.
Burn Canwell.
Beryl Campbell.
She visited the chapel, and she was there exactly the same time as your sister. And she took the picture of your sister holding the cross.
Yes, and that's the one
That's
just
the one
died.
I sent you. That's the one I sent you. The picture.
That's my baby sister, the one that's just died.
Yeah.
I'm the only one left now, Ron.
Oh, you got us, mate.
Yeah,
We can have a chat when you want.
yes.
I missed a couple of chats with you during the week, I see.
I thought you were sleeping, Ron.
Oh, thank you, mate. I don't sleep.
I disturb you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did miss a couple. Sorry. I'll get back to you either tomorrow or Tuesday. I'll get back and we'll have a chat. Did you write your piece?
Didn't I what, sorry?
Did you write your piece that was going to be read out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done that.
You got through it okay.
Yes, I've done that. Yeah. The hard job to do.
No crumbs, yeah.
I can't go to the funeral, you see, Ron. It's too far away and my health wouldn't allow me to do it.
No.
So,
But but you remember.
yes.
Yeah.
It's strange, really. You see, we were never brought up together, and it's hard to think of her as a sister, if you understand me.
Yeah, but you told me you used to meet her sometimes on holiday. This is a horrible thing. This is really horrible. I mean, you were separated when you were that young.
Yes.
And you were brought up by your nan with your older sister.
Yes.
And the younger sister went to England.
That's right.
But you only visited them singly. So you never got together, the three of you.
No.
That's horrible. It really is horrible.
No.
You know, that would have been nice if you'd all met.
Yes.
Yeah, never mind, mate. Yeah, when you told me that, I sat here with tears in my eyes. Yeah, at least, you know, we had our family, you know, sorry. Anyway.
Just let you know, I went to Tom Boardman's funeral last week. I don't know if people know Tom Boardman.
Yeah, I know Tom.
He had a great send-off. It was a lovely funeral. Pauline was there. Pauline Simpson. She was half of the service with Tom's local vicar doing the other half. And it was really, really good. It was a celebration. They had the funeral in the church and then a committal at the crematorium and then a good, I don't like using the word wake, but we had a tea and sandwiches at his local cricket club. And it was really nice. There was a lot of people there. Meg Parks and her husband and Richard and Susan Brown were there, and it was good. And I met his son Ron on Friday, and we had a chippy dinner in Lee. And Ron's doing okay, and you know, obviously it's a big loss his father going like that because Ron was his carer, but. And he had over 100 cards, sympathy cards, sent to the house, which just shows how much. Yeah.
How much you?
Yeah. Sorry, Janice, you didn't quite catch.
It shows how much he was thought of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
This isn't really a FEPOW thing, but I thought this was brilliant. Because I'm also in Memories of Great Yarmouth, and somebody got in touch and said, because I'm compiling the Royal Norfolks for the Second World War, all of them actually, all the Royal Norfolks, and of course the Norfolks in this First World War, the Royal Norfolks, I think it was 1932, they changed the Royal Norfolks, but they said get in touch with the Yarmouth Mercury because they did. You see it?
Oh, yep.
And it's absolutely full of pictures from World War One. So all the Yarmouth were put into this supplement. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I got in touch with them and said, can I use the pictures? And they said, yeah. As long as you just mention the Yarmouth Mercury, so that's really good. But I thought the supplement was brilliant. You know, remembering the First World War. I know it's nothing to do with this, but I thought it was good. Right. Oh, we're way over time. Have I left anyone out? Tim, John, John, I'd call you Tim.
Yeah, I know.
John.
I'll answer to it. Don't call me late for breakfast.
No, I wouldn't.
Going back to the Chitral, my father ended up in Tapley or Takuri, as did Keith's father, I think.
Yep.
And your father, Keith, came back on the Chitral.
Yeah.
Could I assume then, are there are no passenger lists, are there?
Not that we found, no.
No.
So could I assume that going from Tapley, he would have gone on the Chitral as well?
Probably need to get his if your father's service record to find out when he was back in the UK.
Right, and work back from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can work. Yeah, just
Yeah.
when you get it, let me know, and we can work back from there. I wouldn't
Yeah.
assume that they were on the same ship. They
No,
could have
no.
been,
Yeah,
but there again, Ron's dad was in Saigon, mine was in Thailand, and they were on the same
Yeah.
ship. So
What my dad said is they were putting the hospitals in Rangoon, and they put lists up every morning.
yeah,
So they had to go and read the list to see if they were on the ships.
Right.
And he said they had their name down for a ship, and then they cancelled it, and he had another ship 2 days later, which was the Chitral.
trial, yeah.
Right.
So I wouldn't go a lot by somebody was with somebody and they were on the same ship,
No,
because it didn't work that way.
no.
So
Okay,
I think really his service record.
I got that.
You've got it. That doesn't
I
say.
got that. So.
Well, get the date of when they birthed,
Yeah.
and if you have a look at my dad's site, that tells you the date. He said it was near enough to the same date he left England, and I
Right.
put it all on his.
28th of
in
October, I think.
Yeah, that was October.
28th of October, 45.
Yeah, let me just find.
I'll have a look at that and I'll let you know.
Yeah, if you have a look at my dad's, he's in Far Eastern Heroes,
Yeah.
and it's a private 5776807. It's the only one that starts private, because I named all the other ones different names, like Sigmund Wagner and Mr. Sam. They're all named different names, which people said they'd like to put under. But my dad's is under private and 577 whatever. So if you have a look at his, you'll actually see the route they took.
Yeah.
I
got a photograph. I got a photograph of Dad and three others, and they're kneeling, and the photograph was taken in Suez. It's got, I assume it's Suez.
Yeah, they went through Suez.
It's Suez on the back of the on the back of the photograph.
They went through
There's
the
no other
Suez.
detail.
Yeah, they went through the Suez, and they stopped at Colombo.
Colombo, Port Said.
Yeah, they stopped there.
Yeah.
They were allowed to go ashore there, I think, Keith.
They were kitted out with British Army kit.
Because Dad bought Mum a scarf, because they were given some money, and so he bought Mum a scarf, which she still had when she died.
Yes, they had their kit. They had lanyards as well, so it was obviously new kit issue.
Oh yeah.
Just trying to think what I did with it. I did do. I think it's under Ships Going Home. Carry on talking, I'll try and find it.
Keith, do you remember in the last meeting that we spoke about ships, troop ships, the Empress of Pakistan?
I've not heard that one.
Empress of Asia?
Yeah, you talked to me about that.
Yeah.
I'm getting so far with that. The Pakistan one, no, but the Empress of India, yes.
Yeah. I went on both those ships when I was in the army.
Right.
Small world.
Yeah.
I think I put it on the Ships Going Home.
They were terrible ships, Keith. with a couple of ships. I was down in the belly of the ship on
Oh,
a hammock. I've never been so ill in my life.
I'm not surprised. A lot of the servicemen said that when they were going out to Singapore.
Yeah. And we only travelled from Harwich to the Hook of Holland. But, the
Right.
waves were like mountains, Rob.
Right, we were
Ronnie,
talking. Yeah.
can I digress and just go back to something that I think Keith may be going to? There was the great granddaughter of Gunner Frederick Mayer
Yep.
that I saw that you'd put up on the site some time ago. Are people still able to go to that talk? I think you were interested in going to it, Keith.
Oh, I am
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
Been in
they
touch
are.
with Kathleen.
That's an open talk.
Yeah, I've been in
Yeah.
touch with Kathleen.
Yeah,
I'm
that's an
going.
open talk. I did put all the details of the school.
Yeah, it is. It's on a Wednesday, so I can't go. But I know of some other people who are interested.
The best thing to do is get in touch with the school
Yes.
and just make sure about the seats if they're only allowing so many in. But she got in touch with me and you, Keith, didn't
That's
she?
right, yeah.
About it. She's a student, and that was her project. And that seems as though it could be quite interesting.
Yeah, I sent her.
It's fabulous that she's doing it.
Yeah.
I've sent her his POW card and questionnaire and bits like that, and said if you want to use them, please do. And yeah, I'm just going along to see what she's done. I'm not contributing at
This
all
is
in
what
any
we
way.
want,
This
isn't
is
it? We want this to continue, the history of them. So I was amazed and very sad when I saw the date that because I only work 2 days a week, and it's one of the days that I work.
Who
So.
else wanted to go along then, Barbara?
James Wiskins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the others said they might let me know, but James was definitely interested.
Right.
I think you know James, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going back to the Chitterell.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. That's open. We all talk. The Chitterell, I did put the pamphlet, which they gave to the people going home on the Chitterell, that is actually on the page. So you can actually look at the pamphlet they actually were given. And there's Python, Hacker pamphlet, the treatment of the treatment war office and everything. It's all on Transport Home.
Right.
So if you go to the best way to find it is Roll of Honour. If you go to the Roll of Honour, and at the beginning of the Roll of Honour, I put addendum. And if you go into addendum and go to collection of information, that will take you to the page from my FEPOW community site, which does name all the things I've done. But right at the bottom, under all the camps and everything, it says end of hostilities, and I've got on their way home. Right. And if you go into on their way home, you'll see the leaflets.
Right.
And it's somebody sent me one and then another one, and so I just added them in. I mean, they're good pamphlets because it tells you what they're supposed to do and what they can't do. So that's some of these on some of the bits on here which are other people's sites aren't no longer there, but it's worth looking down that, because there's at the bottom I've put a load of dispatches on which I put on years ago. The dispatches on naval operations and the Far East, Hong Kong. There's quite a few dispatches there. They're worth reading, but you've got to bear in mind they're the officers' reports. They're not the men. But they're worth reading. Anyway, have we covered everyone?
I think so.
Yeah, we've covered everyone. Somebody's hiding up behind my thing, so I'm just going to have to go to blue jeans. Right. I'm looking at my other thing because I can see everyone. Mine's covered up there. Yeah, we got something out of Jenni. Yes, Jenni. Yeah, we got try and next time you're on, the sound was okay. We could definitely hear you. I mean,
Okay.
Scots people are always loud. So we did hear you. Yeah, so if you can, just go into your record. If you left click on the speaker, wherever you find it, you can go into record and up the sound on your mic. But that's okay as it is. Don't worry about it. That's okay. We can hear you. But everyone, try and get earphones because it stops feedback. Okay? And I don't know if that's a lot of your trouble, Janice, because now and again you're breaking up. And it could be feedback. So if you get some headphones, that should be better next time. Okay? Yeah. You sound as though you've got a bad throat.
I'm in Spain avoiding the Aussie flu.
Oh, yeah. Well, I daren't say too much about it because I know Avril Anderson. She does tend to watch the videos, but the rugby yesterday. Oh, what terrific games! Oh, I thought the Welsh played really well against the Scots.
Yeah.
Can't say much because she's Scot, of course, so I
The
can't
Scots
say
didn't
too much.
turn up.
No. But, no, that was a brilliant game. I thought the Welsh played really well. But the second one, I mean, that last 2.5 minutes into extra time, and then they get that kick over to win the match, the Irish, and they beat the French. Yes. No, sorry to go on about the rugby, but I love the rugby. Yeah, me and my son have been to Twickenham a few times, and the atmosphere is it's better than any football match. And I love my football, but it's better the singing, the Welsh singing, Bernard. Oh, jeez, isn't that brilliant?
It's the land of song.
Oh, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But anyway, Keith, would you like to do the honours, mate?
Right, the FEPOW prayer. And we that are left grow old with the years, remembering the heartache, the pain and the tears, hoping and praying that never again man will sink to such sorrow and shame. The price that was paid we will always remember, every day, every month, not just in November. We will remember them.
We will.
We will.
Thanks all of you. Brilliant meeting. I've enjoyed it. Hope you all have. Next one, I haven't sent the invite out yet, but that will be
17th.
the 17th. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be at Q, Ronnie. So
Yeah, that's okay, mate. But we all decided that we would read the prayer at the end.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah, so if any of you have I did send the prayer last time, but I take it Barbara and Janice have got it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you've got the prayer, and I don't tend to read it. I ask somebody else to read it. Okay.
Yep.
So if we can all have the prayer ready, and I'll ask somebody if they'd like to read it. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Okay.
And I'll have the video on either late today or tomorrow for everyone to watch. And then the people who don't come to the meetings, they do like to watch the video. They do pick things up. Some are a bit too shy. Aren't we, Jenny? Aren't we, Jenny? No, Jenny, it's great to see you again, Jenny. That's
yeah, it's
brilliant.
just unfortunate I can't make a Saturday, but I do like the Sunday
that's
ones.
okay. A lot of people can't make Sunday because of church. But the reason we've got at this time of day is because Martin isn't with us today, but he normally joins us from Australia. And so that's the reason we have it at 10 o'clock. And then we have the next one on Saturday, so the people who go to church today can come on Saturday. So I'm trying to accommodate everyone. Anyway, thanks a lot, everyone. And I'm going to turn the record off now. But thank you all for joining. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.